Better the Christmas that comes early rather than not at all. Volunteers at the Newcastle City Mission have opened their annual free spree to the city's needy. Blast furnace workers and big food chains come to the party each year with cash, cans and toys to make Christmas something to look forward to for around 300 families who might otherwise go without. People from all walks of life give a little or a lot of their time to help distribute the gifts. As well as the big welfare agencies, the spirit of giving is alive with the often anonymous efforts of others through groups such as the Magic Moments Foundation. Rather than a handout, volunteers see their work as simply giving others a hand. Close to 1,000 children and teenagers are on the buses each school day around Dungog.
Younger children have a much more limited peripheral vision than adults and hence can't see well enough. So we must try and improve that safety for these our younger children that are coming through.
Many of the routes are over narrow, winding and increasingly busy road, all the right ingredients for an accident. To ensure that it doesn't happen, the area's two main bus companies and the local council are conducting a safety survey with an inspector making notes of all the danger spots. This may lead to the relocation of some bus stops and road widening, but there are short-term safeguards.
The best outcome would be is simply, I think, at this stage, the identification of all the hazards that we have and certain things that we can do to take action now, perhaps in the area of education, seeing that parents meet young children at the bus stop. In the longer term, I believe we can then put together a program of actually addressing some of these deficiencies in the road network we've identified.
Similar to competition in the phone industry, consumers will soon be able to take advantage of competition in the sale of electricity. Highly regulated monopolies will be open to private enterprises, offering new packages on the supply of power, which up until now many have taken for granted. Hunter and Central Coast councils are taking a cooperative approach to the changes. Acting as a block, they may be in a better position than going it alone to get the best deals for ratepayers.
There'll be a lot of competition for accounts, so people will be able to, in a sense, play one provider off against another, and there'll be a huge amount of gains to be got by really understanding the way we manage our energy and managing a little bit more efficiently.
As well as better prices for power, deregulation may also offer smarter and more environmentally friendly uses of electricity.
Local government have an important role to play in not only reducing energy consumption, the consumption of non-renewable sources, but demonstrating how that can be done and encouraging the community to take those sort of things on board as well. So we're looking at good news for the environment, we're looking at changing our behaviour and perhaps the culture of the way we operate, but we're also looking at potentially huge savings in money in our annual budgets.
Already well known as the gateway to the Barrington Tops, Dungog is offering an increasing variety of attractions to tourists.
There's an awakening now that tourism has great potential, accommodation is vital, and there are a lot of people becoming involved in the accommodation, particularly bed and breakfast and farm stay throughout this shire now.
Jointly funded by the state and federal governments, a new visitor information centre was opened today to help steer tourists on the right track for a pleasant and, as far as the local economy is concerned, a profitable stay. Maitland and Bulahdelah will follow Dungog's lead, setting up new tourist information centres as part of a Hunter tourist network.
It's the same in any country town, I'd imagine. You have people that have born and bred in the area, and it takes them a while to accept these things, but I think the majority of people realise that we have to have a financial basis to continue to survive, and tourism is the greatest potential.
A whole new new look is planned for Newcastle, with the complete redevelopment of the western end of the civic site stretching from Wheeler Place to Derby Street. It's hoped the development will revitalise the area, improving heritage buildings while also introducing some new restaurants and office space.
The first and most important aspect is the refurbishment of some heritage buildings that I think will be very significant for Newcastle. Though the Fred Ash building is going to be used for office accommodation and the Westpac Bank is going to lease the bottom floor of that.
The Clarendon Hotel will also be redeveloped with a new bar and restaurant on the ground floor. The Westpac Bank on the corner of Wheeler Place and Hunter will meanwhile be demolished.
And it'll be the start of redeveloping Wheeler Place so that it becomes a public square, and there will be an art frame wall then along the Fred Ash side wall. And there'll be restaurants.
Lord Mayor Greg Hees helped turn the first sod today. He hopes the project will be complete by late next year. Emma Ossian, NBN News.
She may have just graduated from a welfare course at Arimba TAFE, but Michelle is trying to bring about change for the young people of the entrance. She spent the past 4 weeks surveying the needs of the area's youth.
A lot of money has just been spent on the entrance area to get it sort of up and running and looking nice for the tourists and to try and attract them in the holidays. But for the young people that are here all the time, there isn't a lot of services.
With the backing of the local Samaritans, she plans to establish a youth service that will combine recreational and social facilities with training and referral services. While there is a local counselling service, thousands of young people say a meeting place is urgently needed.
There's a lot of guys out on the street, they're just hanging around, they don't do anything, they get bored, cause trouble just because they've got nowhere to go.
Well, it'd be good, it'd give us kids something to do.
While Michelle is confident she'll have the project operational early next year, she's relying on community support.
I think definitely it is going to come off. I'm going to make sure of that. But it is a big job, and that's why I need, the help of the people in the area to get this up and running.
She's calling on local businesses to donate a small amount of money each week to cover rent for a premises. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News. After 2 years of research and consultation, a long-term plan to preserve the areas near the Williams River and its catchment. The Department of Urban Affairs and Planning says it's a comprehensive strategy that will ensure a coordinated approach to the river's care.
It's the first time where we've combined the total catchment management process with the planning system to give both a better profile and to give a bigger role for the community in the overall planning and management of the catchment.
What that means is that Council will now have to consider the strategy when approving a new development, and they'll be planning guidelines for farmers and local residents to help minimise their impact on the river and its banks.
So there's a concentration on protecting that vegetation, controlling erosion and sedimentation, making sure that there are strong controls on any development near the river.
The strategy addresses everyone who lives, works and plays in the catchment. But surprisingly, it doesn't cover the use of powerboats on the river, this issue to be handled by the Healthy Rivers Commissioner. The draft plan evolved from meetings with farmers, local community groups, agencies and councils, and the government is keen to ensure that community feedback continues. The plans are on display at Newcastle's Department of Urban Affairs and Planning, as well as Dungog and Port Stephens Council. The community have until the end of February to make written submissions. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
The Plus petrol tucked behind the Woolworths supermarket opened to a brisk trade today. Customers lured by a 2 cent a litre discount off the Bowser price if they spend more than $30 at the neighbouring Woolies.
They've been doing this for nearly 20 years in both Britain and France, and they've just started to do it in the United States as well.
It's only the third Plus petrol in the country. By the year 2000, Woolworths plan to have as many as 250 nationwide. Plus petrol will differ from the other big chains, not being tied to one of Australia's big 4 fuel companies, instead importing their fuel directly from overseas. It's also company policy to match the lowest fuel price of any petrol station within a 3-kilometre radius. In this vicinity, there are 8. Plus Petrol has the full blessing of Australia's official consumer watchdog, the Consumer and Competition Commission. The Service Station Association, however, says it's not a level playing field and warns any price war could devastate local retailers.
Unfortunately, many of these service stations cannot make changes because they're tied to the oil company and they don't have the opportunity to go out and buy fuel at a cheaper price somewhere, where Woolworths do.
Well, Woolworths tends to worry about the customer and tends to think about the customer's needs.
Woolworths plan to open another 4 service stations in the Hunter over the next 6 months. Phil Hind, NBN News.
The staff were shaken by the ordeal.
Luckily no one was physically injured, but naturally a certain amount of people are traumatised by the event.
The lunch hour rush was interrupted by a masked bandit who threatened a female teller with a weapon. He demanded she hand over the contents of the till before running out with a small sum of money. The bandit sped off in a stolen Toyota Camry down a side street. Police found the getaway vehicle half an hour later in a shopping centre car park at the junction, where it was involved in a minor accident.
I stopped the car to get out to find out what was going on, and he sped off, dumped his car and raced off.
The wanted man is in his mid-30s, medium height and of heavy build. He was last seen wearing blue tracksuit pants, a green shirt and a hood. Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
Around 40 up-and-coming swimmers from the Queensland border to Tiree hit the water in Port Macquarie today for the start of the annual Sunrise Camp. The 11 to 15-year-olds undergo a general evaluation by the 3 Australian swimming coaches before the hard work begins. The keen youngsters swim lap after lap as they attempt to apply the latest techniques to their swimming styles. Dryland skills are also emphasised, such as proper stretching techniques and how to mentally prepare for competition. The young swimmers are also taught the importance of diet and nutrition. The most talented youth will win a place in an Australian high-performance camp, which will be announced tomorrow. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Staff morale at the university is slowly improving with the appointment of Interim Vice-Chancellor Professor Malcolm Nairn, who has the job of propelling UNE in the right direction. Backing him up is Deputy Chancellor Jenny Crew, who is confident the university is past its darkest days. Mrs Crew is calling for a complete revamp of UNE's staffing structure.
My firm belief is that if we were to look closely at our levels of administration and remove at least 2 of the 4, we might be in a position to allow our academics to get back to the true function of the university, the functions being teaching, research and service to its community.
The university will also be focusing on its traditional strengths, such as agriculture and research, as well as environmental sciences. UNE is also well known for its external courses, and there are grand plans to attract more international students. Mrs Crew says the university is now in a good position to regain its former glory.
The future, I think, holds a number of problems to be solved in this coming year. But it will be nothing like a repeat of what we've been through. The university this year is balanced, and it's looking very good for the future in terms of the financial side.
After a 2-0 loss on Friday night, the signs weren't good for the Eagles early on at Marathon. The Bandits had opened up a 2-1 lead, and when the visitors smashed a home run, the match was out of reach. 3-1 the final result, but hometown support came from everywhere during the break. Santa even made an appearance. Presents for the kids, but the real gift for the locals came with the return of the baseball, the Eagles combining their strength with finesse to have the match in their control. Chris Bradley, Paul Latter and Fletcher Bates all bashed safe hits, and coach Shane Barclay issued all the right advice as the Eagles raced to an 11-6 victory. It wasn't good enough for the series, but the Eagles' form is encouraging with their next match to be played against the Gold Coast Cougars at home next week.
Lining him up again. Crunch.
Oh, bang.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Onto the wall. Bang, another one.
Burn. Oh, there's a good hit. Car number 27. Oh, gee, leave him.
Bookmakers gave the Breakers no chance on Friday night. They were quoted at 5-1 to win, but caused the upset of the season.
Yeah, I've always said that we've had a win like that coming based on performances in recent weeks, and I felt very confident Friday night. And they went out and they worked hard and they got the result that they deserved.
The Breakers received a standing ovation for their efforts, and while coach John Cosmina would love to keep the lineup together for this week's clash with UTS Olympic, he won't have that option. Representative duties will keep star striker Clayton Zane out of the team, while Matty Austin has been outed for 1 week after yet another yellow card. The Breakers defender put his body on the line against United, a crashing tackle in the first half, earning him his 4th card this season. Cosmina thinks it looked a lot worse than what it was.
With all due respect to the referees, I don't know what's a yellow card and what isn't anymore. I give up. So he's out, he's copped the card, there's no appeal, so it's over and done with, you live with it.
The team to play Olympic will be finalised on Friday, the match to be played at Belmore Oval on Sunday night.
Shoppers turned out in large numbers, all aiming to get the most difficult task of the festive season out of the way.
Just about finished a lot of it. Still got all the food to do yet, which is a big worry. But the shopping for the presents, yes, finished.
The major centres will be open until midnight tonight and until 6 on Christmas Eve. Meanwhile, there was a different kind of rush happening at the Hunter Mission office. Since Thursday, volunteers have been busy wrapping 500 Christmas presents for underprivileged Hunter residents. The presents will be distributed at the mission's Christmas Day lunch in Civic Park.
There is a perception that that it's just for homeless people, and that's not the case. We have said that anyone that's on their own at home on Christmas Day, we would love them to come down to Civic Park in Newcastle and join us for the lunch.
With just 4 months to run on his 5-year contract, Bill Grant learnt at the weekend that it wouldn't be renewed. Today the council announced his replacement.
Mr Robert Gibbons is prepared to start with council around about the 20th of January.
Although Mr Gibbons hasn't worked for local government, he's a 20-year public service veteran and more recently a government consultant. The Mayor paid homage to outgoing General Manager Bill Grant but says it was time for a change.
The council feels that it can do better, that the city can do better with this person.
Mr Gibbons' package will be worth $150,000 a year. Meanwhile, the move to dump Mr Grant drew a stinging rebuke from the business community, the Chamber of Commerce labelling it the worst council decision in years and one which smacked of political payback.
They saw the General Manager as belonging to being a manager with the previous council, and they seem to have gone out of their way, this council, to purge themselves of anything that was involved with the previous council.
While not wanting to buy into the political wrangle, Mr Grant conceded his job had been tougher since the last local government elections. Although his contract doesn't expire until April, Bill Grant says he's happy to leave early in the new year. Phil Hind, NBN News. For the first time since the earthquake, Christchurch Cathedral looks as though it's on the road to a full recovery. Just in time for Christmas, an enormous hoarding has been removed, which for the past 2 years has divided the church in two, sealing off the high altar.
Instead of feeling like a little bush church, it really feels like the building that is gracious, huge, wonderful.
In just 6 months, the cathedral restoration appeal has topped the $1 million mark. It was bolstered today with a $10,000 donation from BHP and $50,000 from the Newcastle Council. Although the gift represents the council's total promised commitment, the Mayor isn't ruling out further donations.
We're always open for a reconsideration. But I'm hoping that other organisations now will come in behind us.
It's a Christmas wish shared by the appeal committee. It's now just $935,000 shy of its $2 million target.
The last part of all fundraising is always the hardest. You know, in the beginning you have normally a fairly easy step in. So yes, we know it's going to be harder.
The appeal committee hopes to have raised the money by the end of 1997 at the latest. Phil Hind, NBN News.
Try and keep together.
I haven't got a clue.
Sun, surf and sand seem to be the focus of this year's Boxing Day activities, with big crowds flocking to the beach. Friends and family recovering from the chaos and headaches of Christmas soaked up the summer sun. While some preferred a peaceful sail across the harbour or quiet spot of fishing, others were content just rolling along. With many kids trying out their Santa goodies in the surf, parents are warned to keep a close eye on where they're swimming.
Basically on days like this, when the kids have got their new boogie boards and toys for the surf, that the parents watch them all the time, because they come up here and they want to have a lie down and sleep and rest a bit after the busy Christmas day, and they let the kids go and don't really watch them. Keep an eye on your kids all the time and make sure they've got flippers with their boogie boards if they get new ones.
The traditional Aussie barbecue sizzled in the sun as people made the most of their time with loved ones.
I think it's unwinding and also being able to spend the last of the holiday with family before they take off back to their respective homes.
Fairly busy. We've only been on since 9 due to 12 o'clock, but we've had constant all the way.
A development application for the Newcastle Adult Entertainment Leisure and Pleasure Centre outlines plans for the brothel, party and feature rooms, along with adult video, books and novelties, and a 55-seat live theatre. Built over a row of shops, the centre is close to other brothels operating nearby and too close for the liking of retailers in the area.
We can accept that socially that there's a few of them that have been here for a few years, but comments were made last week that they seem to be springing up all over the place, and I don't think the council's gone through the due process of notifying people within this precinct and the CBD in general that this application is there at this period of time. It's something that's just socially not acceptable to us.
Nearby businesses have been notified of the development application, but others in the precinct say they should have been informed also. Chairman of the City Centre Main Street Group, Paul Murphy, says turning the area into a red light district goes against efforts to lift the West End's image and its inclusion in both the Honeysuckle and City Council redevelopments.
We are going to have a meeting 10 a.m. on Monday morning, and hopefully then tee up a meeting with the Lord Mayor or the people concerned to get an extension done of the DA, so that people can rightly so go and just ask all the questions that are necessary, because we don't believe due process has taken place by the council officers in this area.
It's a sad tale told every holiday season, the annual dumping of unwanted pets at the RSPCA. Hundreds of dogs and cats find their way to the shelter each week, but over Christmas the intake almost triples. Since Christmas Eve, the RSPCA at Elermore Vale has taken more than 20 stray dogs and almost 70 cats. The animal shelter says the increase is due to unwanted presence and irresponsible owners going on holidays.
People are going away and they don't want to pay boarding costs. They don't want to organise for someone to look after their animals, and it's quite easy to just drop your animal off.
Many cute and cuddly faces will find their way to the RSPCA in the coming months. Pet owners are being urged to spend a lot of time with their animals and to get them trained.
You know, if you've got a problem with your pet and it's not behaving, you know, there's plenty of places that will help you train your dog. But you've got to put the time and effort in to train that dog instead of just throwing it away and buying one that's perfect.